So this week we're going to talk about the AFC North. And before I go on, I just want to say if I sound weird or you think I sound weird, I'm sorry. I have been dealing with some annoying allergies for the past few days, so sorry about that, but I have to continue to push out content for you guys. So here I am. Anyways, let's talk about the AFC North. For what it seems like forever, the AFC North has always been Ravens versus Steelers. That's what pretty much everyone thinks about when they think of this division. This is pretty much what it comes down to, or what it usually comes down to. Steelers versus Ravens. The Bengals have been thrown into the mix every now and then, but for the most part, it's been Steelers versus Ravens. But, I feel like this year might be a little bit different. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyways, let's start off with the team I think is going to place fourth in this division, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals. I have the Bengals going 3-13. I mean, Andy Dalton, he's mediocre, and it's kind of weird to me, dude. I always thought Andy Dalton had potential. And then there was that one season, I believe it was 2015, Andy Dalton was playing lights out. And then he got hurt, missed the playoffs. And then ever since then, Andy Dalton has just been mediocre. Obviously, they still have A.J. Green. A.J. Green is a really good receiver. But unfortunately, he's been hurt quite often. So the Bengals deal with that a lot. They also have Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon is a pretty underrated running back. I feel like people need to pay more attention to him. And they also have Tyler Boyd at wide receiver, who I also feel is another underrated wide receiver. And to be honest, the only reason I know about Tyler Boyd is because I picked him up in fantasy football last year. So if it wasn't for that, I really wouldn't even know much about Boyd. But Tyler Boyd is a fine receiver. And, the O-line, it's really unfortunate what happened, man. The Bengals O-line last year was terrible. So what do? They go draft Jonah Williams, left tackle from Alabama. And, he was supposed to come in here, be that guy for the Bengals, hold down their offensive line. But he got hurt. Out for the season. So pretty much the Bengals O-line is the same O-line as last year. So can't really expect their O-line to get much better. Defensively, of course, they got Geno Atkins, who I think is a player more people need to talk about. I mean, just like 5 years ago, Geno Atkins was pretty much everywhere doing everything. It was J.J. Watt and Geno Atkins being the best defensive lineman in the NFL, and I still believe Geno Atkins plays at a really high level, and people need to pay more attention to him. And they also have William Jackson at the corner position. I think William Jackson's another underrated player not many people talk about, but I mean, the only reason I know about him is because he went to U of H. Obviously, me being from Houston, I heard about him leading up to the draft process. But other than that, the Bengals, talent-wise, there really isn't much there. And they did get a new head coach, so you don't know how this rookie head coach is going to do with this team. So overall, I think the Bengals are going to be a mess this year. I think the Bengals are in rebuilding mode. So 3-13 is where I have them at. And the next team in this division, coming in third place, I got the Baltimore Ravens. And I know, Ravens fans, you're going to hate me. Sean, you're going to hate me, but I'm just not a believer in Lamar Jackson. He's fun to watch, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Lamar Jackson can develop as a pure passer. Because I feel like this whole running around offense thing is going to get figured out. I mean, the Chargers low-key figured it out, And I feel like Lamar Jackson responded well in that playoff game to what the Chargers did to him. But now I got to see Lamar Jackson actually do it. But as of right now, jot me down as a Lamar Jackson, a non-believer. I mean, I do like their O-line. I love that they drafted Marquise Brown. I think he was easily the best wide receiver in the draft. I mean, the guy is a deep threat, a guy that can stretch the field, and that's something the Ravens really needed. Last year, they really didn't have many weapons aside from the tight ends for Lamar Jackson, but, he's a young quarterback, so you got to give him the weapons around him to succeed, and another weapon they added was Mark Ingram. Last year they had a bunch of Jags at their running back position, Alex Collins, Buck Allen, running backs that really weren't worth much, but they still made it work. Now adding a guy like Mark Ingram, that run game could be lethal. Defensively, I know they lost a lot of guys in that defensive front. Suggs, he's been there forever. They lost C.J. Mosley. But, I think they'll be fine defensively. I think that secondary is crazy good. And I think that secondary can really carry the Ravens front. Even though the Ravens front, they always find these players that are good. So, I mean, on the back end of their defense, Jimmy Smith, Marlon Humphrey, really underrated player. And then they just signed Earl Thomas, who is, in my opinion, the best safety in the league. Even though he does have injury concerns, I still think, if you get 12, 13 games out of Earl Thomas, that's a win. And I think Earl Thomas is a huge upgrade over Eric Weddle. So, yeah. So the Ravens, I have them coming in third with a 7-9 record. And the team coming in second, I got the Cleveland Browns. That's right. Put me down as one of those Cleveland Brown bandwagon fans, I guess. Even though Browns fans, if you're watching, you guys need to calm down, man. You guys ain't Super Bowl contenders yet. But I do like the direction the Browns are heading. I mean, they did get a new head coach, what's his name, Kitchens. He was their OC last year, so that's still a question mark. But Baker Mayfield, he's a nice young quarterback. Their O-line's pretty good. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, David Njoku, Nick Chubb. Jesus, dude. Offense was loaded. Defensively, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, drafted Greedy Williams. I think the Browns have a lot of talent, but the reason I have the Browns going 9-7 and not being Super Bowl contenders, how pretty much everyone else has them already, is because they're still a young team. They still need to learn how to win. They need to establish that winning culture. I feel like this year is going to be like that culture change year for the Browns. Learning how to win, getting used to winning, and experiencing the playoffs. That's right. I have the Cleveland Browns sneaking into the playoffs as the 6th seed in the AFC with a 9-7 record. So, at this point, you guys know what team I have in first place in this division, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them with an 11-5 record, good enough for the 4th seed in the AFC. I think the Steelers take back the AFC North. I feel like this year, without the whole Le'Veon Bell locker room drama thing, without the whole Antonio Brown drama, I feel like the Steelers this year are going to be more focused. I mean, their O-line is still very good at the running back position. Even though they lost Le'Veon Bell, James Conner and Jalen Samuels are more than capable of carrying the load. They still got Juju at the wide receiver position. I think Juju will do a fine job as a wide receiver 1. Defensively, I mean, they're still good. They just drafted a linebacker, Devin Bush, to take over for Shazier, who's been missing for a couple years with that devastating injury he suffered. With the Steelers, I really only have a couple concerns, and that's their secondary, but I feel like their front 7 can kind of mask that, and their run game can as well. And Big Ben being washed up. I do think Ben is a little washed now, but I think he can still get the job done. And another issue I have with the Steelers, too, is, that's all they're going to be, a playoff team. I don't see them as contenders. Mike Tomlin, not a fan of him. I see Mike Tomlin as one of the poster childs for underachieving. I mean, the Steelers for years have had a loaded roster, but the Steelers, they always have the same results. Go to the playoffs, get knocked out pretty much immediately, besides from 2016 when they played the Patriots in the AFC Championship game and they got blown out. So even though I have the Steelers going to the playoffs, I don't have them being a threat to the Patriots, to these other contenders in the NFL. I really don't. And sorry, Steelers fans, you might hate me, but some of you guys might agree with me about the Mike Tomlin thing, because I do know there's some Steelers fans that feel the same way as I do about Mike Tomlin. So, yeah, I'll just leave it as that. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys for today. Comment down below your own predictions on the AFC North. And be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.